Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Fish himself, Fish Lee, the creator, writer, artist, and inker, letterer, colorist. I believe he actually cuts the pages, runs the printing press.
Chief advertising agent, social media supervisor, social media starlet, the whole 9 yards. I got to do it all by
Shipping,
myself.
shipping,
I do
receiving,
have a flatter that helps
accounting.
me, and editors, and you got to have outside editors, or it's gonna be a mess. So
Yes. Fish does the book, The Green Zone, along with some other stuff, but you've got a Kickstarter going on right now, correct?
yeah, right now you can go to gomrfish.com. It'll take you right to Green Zone Life in the Blocks on Kickstarter, or you can search Green Zone, one word, if you need to, on Kickstarter. We're creeping up on that $3,000 point right now. We're doing good. We're like 72, 73% the goal right now. Things are going well. We got 12 days left, so there's plenty of time to get in. And there are 3 slots left to get to be drawn in the book if you're interested. For anybody, we're going to pick one backer. So all you got to do is back the book. We're going to pick somebody that backs it and shares it to Kickstarter, and somebody that backs it and then goes to our publisher's fan page on Facebook, FSK Now, share that page out and back it. That's 3 chances right there for 2 shares to get drawn in the book, be in the first issue of Green Zone. How awesome is that?
Yeah. And I have seen some of the artwork from the book. I have gotten to read a few pages, and it is a very cool book. The premise is awesome. So you guys should definitely check it out. I put a link over there on the other side of Fish over there in the
Over
comment.
there, over there.
Over there, yeah. I can never get that right. Yeah, it's over there. No,
Oh,
it's over there.
you would think as much as I do this, like we do one every Friday night for 5 Star Fridays, you would think I would have it down. But no, I still don't have it down. I still get bent out of shape trying to do it
Yeah,
right.
and even when I think I've got it, I do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I got it. No, no.
Yeah. No, I was the wrong way. Got
Yeah.
cocky. Thought I had it. Yeah.
That's right.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to chat with Fish on Wednesday. We did the Dan Wickline show and talked about his book there. And he mentioned that he was a fan of the Moon Knight series. And I said, well, we're talking about Moon Knight on a Sunday night. You should come join us. And thankfully he did, because Paul, like I said, is late. He says that he ran into an old friend, is getting dinner on the way back from the convention. But I think he decided he should go ahead and watch the John Malkovich ABC murders on Prime, not believing how bad I said it was, and realized that I was being nice. And
He's ashamed. Yeah, that's what it is. He's ashamed to come back on.
I think he's over in the corner of his room crying, trying to, laying in the bottom of the shower, trying to get clean again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
scrubbing his eyes. I've been there. I've been there. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's like, he only occasionally tries an accent. What the hell? Malkovich does accents like I do salads. Like, occasionally I try one.
Every once in a while, it's sort of a salad. I mean, it's tuna salad, but that counts. Yeah.
Yeah, but
he is his own thing, and trying to get him to do anything other than his own thing is a big ask.
Yeah. You hire John Malkovich to be John Malkovich.
Mm-hmm.
You want Poirot, you get David Suchet, or you get someone like Kenneth Branagh, who really gets into the part and hires a coach to try to teach him how to speak Belgian
and gets lost in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't hire like Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum in every movie, and it's cool for what works. Some of them it's great, but you don't get him for accents or
you don't get Al Pacino to play Poirot. Hoo-yah!
No.
My little gray cells are coming up. It's like, but you're a little bit more macho man at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Little gray cells have figured it out. Oh. My accent is going on. Somehow I was drifting towards Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black. You have any sugar water?
Oh, now that is a very specific accent. That is
Yes,
unusual.
it
Being a
is.
Southerner, it always kind of bugs me when people try and do Southern accents, and
Mhm.
it's like this vague, like it doesn't really sound like anywhere, but and then you're a bug inside a suit. That's a whole nother layer to it. But
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
interesting.
a Hager suit. The woman that played his wife was so deadpan.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she actually
Oh,
started laughing, it was like, it was kind of creepy.
yeah. Hey, you totally get how somebody wouldn't believe her. Like it was
Yeah.
like he wanted water with sugar in it, and like just so deadpan and not reacting to it or anything. And oh yeah, I wouldn't believe her either. No.
Yeah. 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 So before we move on to other topics, please hit the like button, subscribe button, all those things. If you're on Facebook, would you jump over to YouTube and subscribe over there as well? Trying to grow the channel, get some more views. But I actually posted a special video this week. We're going to bring it up here, but I posted my 3 Moon Knight theories, which I will probably mention this evening. Oh, yeah, found my file. Okay. So we'll bring those up. But I'm going to go on a side trip here because it has turned out to be a very interesting little side trip. Lisa came down and we hung out and watched a bunch of TV Friday night. I had never watched Rick and Morty, so we watched 2 episodes of Rick and Morty.
Dude,
I've read some Rick and Morty comics. I just never got around to watching it.
I thought I was late to the party. Man, that is late to the party.
And the first 2 episodes I watched are the first 2 episodes of season 5. The Mr. Nimbus episode and the
yeah,
doppelganger or the decoy family.
oh yeah. That's just jumping in the deep end there. That's like you know how to swim, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
tough.
So we watched an episode of Resident Alien based off a comic, 2 episodes of Rick and Morty. Then we jumped over and watched the premiere episode of Our Flags Mean Death, which I found funny. Lisa did not. My nephew did not either. He had to turn it off at a certain point. It got painful for him. Which is normally his boyfriend described it as the Office on a pirate ship, and I'm like, I hate The Office and I like this, but yeah, I totally see it.
Yeah.
And then we watched the first episode of season 2 of The Boys because we hadn't watched that yet.
Oh man.
And then we watched 6 episodes of Reacher because I'd seen it and binged it all the night it debuted. But she hadn't seen it yet. And it was 3 a.m. when she's like, there's only 1 episode left. We should watch this. And there's 2 episodes. She goes, damn, we should sleep.
It's funny how that logic works at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, we can go ahead and watch one. No, not 2. That's too much. That's too much.
Yeah, too much,
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to The Boys because I saw the trailer for it with the We Didn't Start the Fire song. And then I watched the first episode and they used Pressure, which I would never have thought of putting it in a superhero show, but it worked so well that I started thinking a lot about Billy Joel. And the fact is, when you think of Billy Joel, there is 2 completely diverse sets of music from him. The man put out 12 albums in like 20 years and stopped. The last album he put out was in 1993 and went, I've done enough, I'm done.
That's a lot of music, though. That's a lot of music.
It is, but he hasn't put out another song in 30 years, almost 30 years.
Gosh, that blows my mind. Just the time it's been since then blows my mind.
So you think of this collection of songs that when you start naming them, I don't know many people our age or in our age groups that don't go, oh yeah, oh I know what. Wait, what's that one? And then you do about 2 lines of it to go, oh, that's called that,
Mhm.
you know. But
Oh yes, so many songs I do not know the names to. So many songs I love, I did not know the names to.
well, it's like scenes from an Italian restaurant. Such an odd title, but when you go a bottle of red, a bottle of white, he's like, oh, that song, okay, or Vienna, or but you start going down this list, and you're like, okay, well, he did Uptown Girl, but he did We Didn't Start the Fire,
Hmm.
and he did something about her, and then you've got You May Be Right, where he sings about being crazy and just about killing himself on a motorcycle, and you just go All for Lena over here, and then you get Piano Man, you know, or just
There's
it's
a
almost
big
like
range out of that. Yeah, there
it's
is.
like it's two different people. So I went out on Facebook and I thought I want to see if other people really kind of. Oh, that's so not gonna. I went out on Facebook. Yeah, just clicked on the thing, but um, so I went out on Facebook and I posted and I said, you know, the whole thing about the dichotomy between the two and what and just to ask people what some of their favorites were. And what surprised me is that for the first time ever, a post I did got more comments than reactions. Because a lot of people they read it, they go like, heart, you know, hug emoji, and then they move on.
Hmm.
But to actually get more comments than that, but then some of the people commenting, I'm going down this list, and it's like um, uh, Joseph Michael Linsner, William Messner Loeb, you know, Christos Gage is responding to this. I'm like, how many Billy Joel fans are? And everybody is, they're just listing off their favorites, and it's like, oh my god, I love Billy Joel, and it's just he's not that person you think of
Hmm.
as being a universal appeal. But I
But
think,
when
yeah,
you've got that kind of diversity in what you've done, you could attract a whole lot of different people. You know, like my son is 22, I think now, 21, 22. He freaking loves Billy Joel. Has loved Billy Joel since he was like 10.
yeah.
And, you know, I'm glad I gave my kids a diverse musical taste. Sometimes they go down weird directions, but okay. As long as you're going on your own and you're finding what you love, I'm cool with it. But yeah, he loves Billy Joel. He's all the time, and asking me about songs. I was like, dude, I don't know the names to half these songs. Like, if you sing it, I know what you're talking about. But
At least some of his songs make sense. It's like if you're did I disappear?
I see you. But
Okay, if you're a Rush fan or try to get into Rush and try to find any of the names of their songs, Red Barchetta. I mean, just they don't make the names of the songs don't make any sense. But at least with him, some of them, Piano Man is obvious.
hmm.
I Go to Extremes. You May Be Right. I mean, those at least We Didn't Start the Fire. But yeah, there are ones like Scenes from an Italian Restaurant or Vienna, stuff like that you start going, okay, they're. But yeah, I guess I'm just really stunned with how many people really love Billy Joel, but it's from all over. It's not like, oh, I love Allentown. Oh no, I love All for Lane. I love All for this one, this one. It's like, okay, it was just really surprised me. Like I said, to get a significant number of comments, but from people like I didn't even know I was following them, or we had a, you know, we follow each other on Facebook, popping up going, oh yeah, I love this song. Oh great.
Oh yeah, you'll be surprised who pops up sometimes in your friends list. And like, I will like buy a comic and I'll love it. And so I'll start looking up the people that did it and realize, oh, I'm already friends with these people, and I didn't even realize it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot where it's like, you know, people. It's like, wait, or I'll meet someone, and you know, or somebody will send me a friend request, and I look up and it's like, oh, we have 290 common friends.
450. Yeah.
It's
Absolutely. Those people, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I accept.
Yeah.
You've got to be good people if we got that many people in common.
Yeah. My other problem is that I have a very diverse background because not only do I have comic people, but I also do photography, do model photography. At least I haven't done as much lately, but so I know a bunch of models and photographers and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have my own personal friends. And every once in a while, I'll see a crossover that I don't understand. Or somebody will show up on my friends list that I don't know how we became friends. And I can't narrow it down. There's a woman named Satine Phoenix. She's big in the D&D community, but she used to be a model and adult film star, but she's also involved in comics. I don't know why we're friends. I don't remember ever meeting her or anything, but she's on my friends list, and you can't tell who friended who once you're friends. And I look at that and I'm like, she's cool. I've seen her do some games and stuff. She just got married and the pictures are great. But I don't know.
Oh, man, I'm watching people's kids grow up. I'm like excited when they graduate and stuff. I have no idea how I became friends with some of these people, but they're in my news feed all the time. So I'm like, oh, hey, it's little Johnny's birthday again. Oh, yeah, he got the truck he wanted. Like, I know these people now, and I didn't before because, the algorithm keeps sticking us in front of each other. And I'm the same way. Like, I've got friends from real life. I've got lots of friends from the Tourette's community, from my advocacy, because I have Tourette syndrome. Lots of friends that I made when I did my T-Man and Hyperstrike comic book. People from church and stuff, because I'm also a licensed ordained preacher, and all kinds of stuff. Like I run into people all the time now that are like 20 years old at Walmart, and they're so excited, like, Mr. Fish, and they come running up to see me, and I'm like, is this from working in Cub Scouts? Is this from being a foster parent? Is this from teaching church? Is this from like volunteering at the schools? Like, I don't know who this person is, but they're excited to see me. So by golly, I'm excited to see you. And, and we will talk for 20 minutes, and I still don't know who they are sometimes.
I had a model I worked with, and I had a couple of the photos we'd done, and I do artistic nudes and stuff like that. And some of her work got crossed over into her work life, and we're getting her in trouble at work.
Oh.
So I got a friend request from this older woman, or I got a message from this older woman who said she was her mom, told me about it, and would I mind taking down some of the work? And I said, not a problem. And I did it right away. Her mom then did a friend request. And she has been one of the most supportive people of my writing. When I took up cooking, she's always responding and, talking about the recipes and stuff. And anything I do, she's super supportive. And it's just really it's cool, but a little strange at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah.
Like, my friend from high school, like my best bud, his mom shares the weirdest stuff that I post. Like, I mean, like, she will share some of the work stuff and some of the stuff about the comic books that I do. I doubt her friends care, but okay, fine. I appreciate the share. Any share is great. But then she will like share like me feeding my dog French fries or wishing my kids happy birthday or like some stuff. I'm like, why did you share? But I love it. She loves me. I love her. Thank you for supporting me, no matter how awkward some of that might be.
All right, we should probably get into somewhere near our topic, but I think
what night were we talking about?
So I think we need to kind of zone in on where you're coming from.
Me.
So before we get into Moon Knight, let's set some let's kind of lay out the groundwork here. Were you a fan of the Netflix series, the Daredevil, stuff like that?
Yeah, for the most part. Like, I mean, I watched I didn't get all the way through Punisher just because time. I got so busy with work, but I watched my way through everything, even if like Iron Fist was a slog to make it through. But I watched everything because I'm supportive and I love Marvel and I'm gonna watch it whether it was all necessarily good or not. Some of it could have been like 3 episodes and been a lot better, but you know.
They did seem a little long. They didn't need
Mhm.
to be 13 episodes.
Some of them didn't. Like some of them were okay at 13. Daredevil, I think you could have took out 1 or 2 episodes and really tightened it up and it would have been a little better. But like Iron Fist didn't need that much. He really did. I mean, you're just dragging out the same issues over and over each
Yeah.
episode. That was tiring.
They could have trimmed both the seasons. I like the second season a lot better than the first.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, and I like Luke Cage. First season was great. Second season was pretty good. Liked both seasons of Jessica Jones. Haven't gotten through.
Love Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I haven't got through the third season. The second episode bugged me a lot because it was just the first episode again, told from the other girl's point of view, and it's just like, I don't need this. But all right, so we okay. Let's talk about the Disney Plus series. Where are you on some of those?
Like WandaVision, I loved. I didn't care what they were going to do with it. I was just excited to see them do something new and do something weird because weird is like my hometown. That's where I live. I really dig the weird stuff. Like that's why like my dream as a kid was to work in indie comics because that's where the weird stuff happens. Like Marvel and DC they've got a brand to worry about. They're not going to get too strange with it sometimes, especially like back in the 80s and stuff when I was a kid reading comics. But like the indies would do weird stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that become a worldwide hit, because they were just being weird. And I loved that. And so like I was excited about WandaVision because they were going to do something weird. And what they did with it, I thought was really neat and really beautiful in the end. I really dug it. I've enjoyed everything so far. I'm trying to think. There was one, I can't remember which one. One of them I remember thinking the same thing with the Netflix series, that it was a little bit longer than it needed to be, but I'm trying to think which one it was.
Well, there are only 6 episodes other than WandaVision. So.
What are the other series? I'm trying, like there's Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Loki.
Loki. Oh, Loki was good. I enjoyed Loki.
Hawkeye and What If.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye and What If. Okay. I'm thinking my critique was on Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I enjoyed, but again, I think we could have tightened it a little bit and kept it running on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier a lot, but I know it had an issue because one of the subplots was about a pandemic, and they went, "Ooh, bad timing. Let's take that out." And then they had to kind of edit around.
See, that is going to hurt you right there. That would explain why some of that dragged a little bit. If you had to pull that out, see, I did not know that. So if they had to pull that out, then yeah,
yeah, there was a subplot they had to ditch because of it being a pandemic related, and it changed a lot of stuff. Like there was the woman that was supposed to have raised the character the Morgenstein, Kari Morgenstein, the woman that raised her that died. There was supposed to be a lot more story with her. That's why they hired an actual really good actress, and then all we ever see of her is she's dead. She's laying there dead. And it's because they had to cut out all that stuff.
Yeah. So. Life will throw a wrench at you sometimes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think the pandemic threw a wrench at everybody.
Mm-hmm. Like my story, I've been working on Green Zone. I've been working on this for 10 years. I've been sitting on it. I've been talking about it. Every time we go to a con and we're sitting with friends and stuff in Artist Alley or whatever, we'd be talking about it. And my son was like, if you don't make this book, eventually somebody else is going to make it because you've talked about it too much. And I was like, you got a point. And then I had an opening, and so I got to work on it. But then I realized, like, because of the time I waited to put it out, then all of a sudden there's all these protests and marches when I started working on it last year. It's all over the news. And all of a sudden I felt kind of guilty. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was trying to profiteer off of what was happening in society at the moment, because I had this idea for 10 years that I've been working on it. It just so happened that the stars aligned right then and it was coming out. I'm glad that it feels poignant to people and feels like it applies to what's going on right now. But I didn't want to be accused of trying to profit off of other people's suffering and struggle, because it was just luck of timing that now's the time I had the chance to put it out and not 5 years ago.
I'd say a year before we first heard about COVID, maybe less than a year, I pitched a book to one of the publishers called Isolation, about a worldwide pandemic that forced everybody to live alone, because it was a disease that actually morphed to the things in your genetic code, and where it didn't affect you, it became deadly to anybody else, because it kind of enveloped everything that's ever happened to you. So it makes this unique strain, and anybody you come in physical contact with will die. And that was the word. And they were supposed to be working on it, but basically you spent your life in isolation. Nobody else around. Everybody worked from home and stuff like that. But then we follow this, what turns out to be a couple that sneaks out and ends up having a baby. And the cop who's designed to go around and eradicate anybody who breaks the laws discovers this baby, and his entire world is shattered, because then he finds out the government's lying to him and all the stuff they've been saying. And I realized what an anti-vaxxer story
yeah.
If it would have come out at right as this. And I'm like, I'm glad that didn't go forward.
Man.
Yeah. I was just telling a cool story. It's not like I believed any of that. So I just thought it would be an interesting story to tell. No.
Yeah, that could have gone really badly. Or, I mean, it could have gone financially very well, but, like, that's I don't want to make money off of that like that.
Yeah, we got a booth set up at the Trump rally. You're doing really well there.
You know, you were the number one book left after the insurrection on the floor of the government buildings. They were everywhere. Yeah, wasn't that great? Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm so glad that one didn't get picked up.
There's so many things that I'm grateful did not work out. Like, I really, really tried self-publishing my own book, like 20-something years ago. Like, it was probably 25 years ago or so now. And I was out on my own, and I was going to produce this Ash King comic, and I was going to sell it to comic shops around the world. And I wanted to prove how adult I was. So I made it just as vulgar and violent and disgusting and filthy. And, like, I just threw everything in it I could to show how adult I was, because I can draw stuff like this, and I can, and nobody would carry it for some reason. And the only people that would carry it wanted like 80% of the cover price, and it had to be wrapped up, and it had to be covered in a wrapper so nobody could see it, and it had to be in the back behind the curtain that you had to get, show your driver's license to get to. Like, nobody's gonna buy that. And so it didn't work. And now I am so glad that book is not out there with my name on it, going around eBay for $25 or whatever. Like, I still, my older boys are grown men now. I still have never shown them this book because I don't want them to see it. It's nasty. I'm ashamed of it now. But, I'm glad that one didn't succeed.
All right. Let's get on to Moon Knight.
Oh, yes, let's.
All right. So you've seen both episodes.
Yes. I just finished the second one. I've been busy doing shows, but I just finished the second one today.
Yeah. Being a comic creator is really tough on actually having a social life or any kind of.
It's tough on keeping up with comic books and keeping up with, your friends and the TV shows and stuff, because, like, most days if I'm just doing comics, I get up, drink my coffee, take my meds, watch the news for a hot minute, scroll Facebook, and then like after an hour of like waking up, I go to work. I do that usually till 10 or midnight and go to bed and start over the next day. So like I have to make time to watch shows, and that's time that I'm not making comics. And so
Yeah.
it's a big ask.
Yep. I don't know how I used to write while having the TV on all the time, and I can't do that anymore. I'd say like within the last 10 years, it's like, no, got to turn everything off. I can listen to the music, no words, soundtracks work. That's about it. I wrote an entire Western script to Iron Maiden once. Now, no, can't do it.
I have to be careful of what I watch because like it has to be entertaining enough that like a little bit of my brain will be paying attention to it, or I will get too lost in what I'm doing. And then like when somebody walks through the house, I will scream and freak out, So I need a little bit of my brain occupied. But if it's too good, I'll catch myself watching and not working. So like the old Thundercats was great because I could listen to it. I could enjoy the nostalgia of it. I didn't have to watch it to know what was going on. NCIS is great because it's designed for old people. They know you're going to fall asleep. So every so often, Gibbs is going to hit that elevator button and stop it, and they're going to run down everything that I might have missed that I wasn't watching. And I know what the red herring was, and I know why we're going to the interview room, so I can listen and enjoy it like a radio program.
There are so many shows on that I look at going, how has that been on 20 years? The Law and Orders and the NCIS and
people like the comfort and the repetitiveness of it. Like when I listen to music, I listen to my liked songs list on Spotify, which has about 600 songs on it. And it's the same ones over and over. And it's songs that I know. It's songs that I can sing along to. I don't have to spend time thinking, do I like this song? Do I not like this song? Who's this artist? I know it. I enjoy it and go through. It's repetitive. It's easy. It's comfortable. I can listen to that and work all day.
Yeah.
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight, yes. All right. So what were your general thoughts on episode 1?
I freaking loved episode 1. I thought not only did they tell an awesome story with episode 1, but I thought they really put some effort in to really give a realistic depiction of what DID must be like for people that suffer with it. Like the sudden jumps and he's somewhere else. And you can tell stuff happened, but you don't know what happened because you weren't there for it. And like it made it terrifying. It showed us from the get-go that this was going to be scary, how much he was struggling with this stuff, having to chain himself to the bed to try and keep from running away. But, he thought he was sleepwalking. He didn't realize this is a whole nother conscious personality taking over. Conscious personality can undo the buckles.
Yeah.
Sleepwalker's not going to. I absolutely loved the way they did it. I mean, they made it interesting. They had me on the edge of my seat. The way they introduced the characters was amazing. I'm loving this version of Steven and Mark being like so different from each other, and Steven being a civilian in this whole thing, and I just love it. Absolutely. What were your thoughts?
Well, it makes me think that they did more research into DID, because when you read the comics, it feels like Steven and Jake and Mark are all completely separate, well-formed personalities. But DID doesn't work that way. DID tends to be aspects of a personality.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark is the protector aspect, the guy that's going to stand up and pick a fight in the bar because you dissed his wife. Steven is more of the safe one, the one that they go and hide in when the world gets too much. There could be a nurturing one. There could be all these different types of personalities. Crazy, Crazy Jane, I think it is, on the Doom Patrol, is another.
I think they do a good job with that too. Like, I mean, I think it falls a little bit into the Hollywood kind of
It's a little over the top.
tropes
Yeah.
of what multiple personalities is like. But I like the fact that the personalities can deal with each other and talk with each other and take turns, because often when you meet these people, like, you know, doctors and stuff can ask to speak to somebody and that person can come to the forefront, which, you know, is a little bit different. But I think they're trying really hard with that, and I think they're doing a really good job with Moon Knight.
Yeah, I think they are too. And I think these are, in a lot of ways, not so much fully formed personalities as they are aspects of personalities. Like if you merge them all together, you get one full person.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like for any writer, I mean, most of our characters, like I know in Green Zone, most of the characters are aspects of me. Like they're a piece of my personality taken out to the extreme, you know, and what happens out here in the wild when it's that far out. And, you know, my insecurity and my selfishness and my greed and whatever taken out into these extremes. And I kind of see it that way, you know, like it's those different pieces of the same put together, but they are very different from each other. And I am loving the difference between Steven and Mark that we're seeing so far. And like, it feels real. Like, if you are Steven, you do not want to let Mark have control after you've seen the kind of things that he's done. Like, you know, you get to see more of that in the second issue, of course, in the second episode. Sorry. You wouldn't want to let go when you see that he's been a murderer and that he's hurt all these people and stuff, and you have no reason why. You just know that he's killed people, and normal people don't go around killing people. So, like, of course I don't want to give you control. You must be some kind of monster. And I love the visceral realness of his response to that. You know, like, no. I'm going to stay awake forever if I have to. You are never getting control again. Like, I get that panic in that moment. No, I can't ever let this happen. I enjoyed that.
I think one of the interesting things, and I didn't really think about this until I was talking to my nephew earlier, one of the things people complain about with Marvel is that they don't do R-rated stuff. The violence level isn't high enough. Nobody is complaining about the violence level on Moon Knight, but at least in episode 1, there's a little bit in episode 2, there's no violence in episode 1.
That you see. Like, there is, but there isn't. Like, and that I loved. That was some of the most brilliant writing to me. That, like, you know, you see glimpses of him having these, you know, this ability to fight, and then all of a sudden, you know, he blacks out. You wake up and there's just bloody people laying around, and you know, he has taken them out single-handedly. We don't know how. I loved that. That was so exciting to me. And the question of how did he do and what happened, and that had me so invested and so like dying to know what was going to happen next. It was brilliant.
Yeah. I think the combination of not seeing the violence, just the aftermath, and F. Murray Abrams' voice for Khonshu, you know, just saying all the stuff he says, really made that first episode work.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely. Before you ever see him, that disembodied voice, you know, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and just like the frustration in his voice, like, why are you here? You are useless. I don't need you. I need Mark.
Yeah, give Mark the body parasite. It's like, oh man. But then even in episode 2, he says, "You told me he wouldn't be a problem."
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of an interesting line.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dying to know more about how they're going to explain this, because they're very clearly doing their own thing, and I dig that. And like, when Steven transforms into Mr. Knight, I texted you. I was just screaming when that happened. I was so excited, and it just happened so well and so beautifully. And like the fact that like they're making it, he literally translates the words that she was saying, like, put on the suit. So he's trying to do that, and ends up a dude in a suit is brilliant. You know, not the guy in the super suit that maybe he didn't even see or catch a glimpse of. You know, like she said suit, he comes out in a suit. And it was such a beautiful, brilliant way to introduce the Mr. Knight persona and make it so clearly something else. You know, not even a hint of like I'm doing this to kind of pretend so that we can do things like I could deal with the cops because you can't deal with Moon Knight kind of thing. Like these are completely separate, absolutely different. I loved that. I was so flipping excited.
I love that his entrance was a superhero landing.
Yeah.
And you get that moment of, oh my God,
and then
who's this? Is he a new badass? And then he falls over and you're like, oh, it's Steven. You know it's Steven just by the way it falls over. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like, you know, he's still kind of getting knocked around as he's figuring it out, but he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his confidence goes up. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me if, as we go along, that becomes its own persona.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I would almost like to see just a hair of like monk type awkwardness, you know, of Steven still in there, you know, fidgetiness and all that, you know, still be there a little bit because that's, I am digging it. But then I'm one of those people that like when they go back and retell a story, because like you're telling these stories over and over and over again. Like you tell them most of the time you tell them in the comics, sometimes several times. And then you tell them in the animated series a few times. And then you tell them like an animated movie. Then you go to the big screen and stuff. Like you're telling these same stories over and over again. So like when they go back and shuffle the deck and make it a little bit new this time, I love that. I don't get bent out of shape that it's not like the book or it's not like the novel or whatever. I want to see something new, especially if I've already read the story.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be like, okay, that's page 6. All right, that was page 7. Like I want to be surprised. I want to be caught off guard. And I love what they're doing with Moon Knight.
When I was first getting into comics, it was probably the early 90s, maybe mid 90s. I went to a convention in LA and Todd McFarlane was the speaker. And it was the time he had the movie coming out, the Spawn movie. He had the animated series on HBO, and he had the comics coming out. And somebody said, well, I don't like the animated series because it's so different. You know, it's not the same thing as the comics. Why are all those changes? And he said, well, then you're probably going to hate the movie because there's changes again, because that's the movie. That's the animated series. That's the comics. Why would I want to tell the same story 3 different times in 3 different mediums?
Exactly the same way. Yeah.
He's like, the animated series are these people working on it, and it's their take on my character and the events of his life. Mm-hmm. The movie is their take on it. So, and I thought that was really good thinking, and it kind of changed the way I look at adaptations and stuff.
He put it into words well. And that's what I appreciated about that, because it was something I'd been dwelling on since like the Ninja Turtle movie, you know, because like it wasn't the cartoons and it wasn't the comic books, but it was a good mix of the two, I thought. And, you know, while everybody I knew like at school was freaking out about it because it's not like cartoons, it's not the way it really happened. I was like, well, actually the way it really happened was in black and white, you know, but anyhow, I thought it was a good mix of it. And then Spawn comes out later, and I was like, he nailed it. He nailed it with his description of it. You know, why tell the same story the same way every time? If you get another crack at it, why not fix the things that you didn't know how to fix the first time you told it, or with the time crunch that you were on, or if you knew you had 100 issues that you could tell the story in before, you could take your time. Now, if we got 13 episodes of an animated series, we need to shuffle this up and get to the good stuff faster. And, you know, like, you're working in a different medium each time and different time limits.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Malkovich and Poirot and how they changed all this stuff, but to make it darker and to make him more mysterious, and none of that really clicked for me, and I hated it. Yet you go over to the Kenneth Branagh Death on the Nile, they make a lot of changes, but they keep Poirot the heart of the character from the books. They keep the murder mystery the same. What they did was they kind of streamlined it, where in the novel that was written almost 90 years ago, everybody just happened to be in Egypt and on the same boat. So there weren't a lot of connections. Here they go through and they go, okay, instead of it just being a lot of happenstance, this is why Poirot is in Egypt for this point, and why he ends up. And this is why we brought the character of Book from Murder on the Orient Express. We carried him over to this film and changed from another character. This is why all of these characters now are celebrating the wedding of these two, so that everybody has a connection.
There's a reason for them to be there.
Yeah, they streamlined it. They added more emotional connection for the character and for Poirot, but they never changed the heart of the characters or the murder mystery itself. So you're not reading an exact adaptation or watching it, but you're getting the heart of the story through someone else's. And this, Dan, I think it's Dan Green is the writer, and Kenneth Branagh. They do such a good job. But then, but I look at other changes for the Malkovich version, and it's like none of those changes made sense to me because they weren't keeping the heart of the characters, And I think that works because you look at the MCU and just about every character is changed.
Oh, yeah.
Iron Man never had a relationship with Pepper Potts. She ended up with Happy Hogan.
And like he didn't create Ultron. That one really, that's one thing that chapped my hide because I was like, you could have introduced Ant-Man earlier and we could have had that. But
they were supposed to, but then there was the whole thing with Edgar Wright.
I don't know about that.
Edgar Wright was doing an Ant-Man movie at the same time they were doing an Iron Man movie, but he kept delaying it. So, because for his other movies, so by the time he actually sat down to do the movie, Iron Man had come out, Hulk had come out, Iron Man 2, and I think they were already working on the Avengers. So what they had done had changed completely. So now, his story didn't fit as well anymore, which is why Wright left. Because they're like, okay, this is the universe we have now. Had you jumped in the beginning, you could have laid a lot of the groundwork. But we held it for you for all that time. Now we need you to make some changes to make it fit with these other movies we've done. He didn't want to do that. It went to Peyton Reed instead.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that either. But
yeah.
Again, I've been making comics. I haven't been reading the news.
I spent 5 years writing for Bleeding Cool. I kind of had to know all this stuff. And now I do these shows. So I'm the guy that actually, I was already watching all those director commentaries and behind the scenes stuff on a DVD disc. But now I use it for work. Yeah. But yeah, so I look at the MCU and I think the changes they make, the Vision is very different than he is in the comics. He's not the ant. Well, that ended up being retconned anyway. And that's the other problem is there's so many things that happen in comics that then gets retconned and retconned and retconned. It's like if you look at the original Moon Knight comic or his first appearance in Werewolf by Night 32 and 33, he got his costume from a corporation that wanted him to hunt down a werewolf, and they gave him a serum that gave him extra strength during a full moon, made from werewolf blood. That's not the character we have now.
No, not at all.
And he was basically a Batman clone, but when he became popular and Doug Mensch and Don Perlin were asked to do actual stories with him, they went, well, we can't give him Bruce Wayne's origin, so we'll give him the Shadow's origin instead. And you go down the line, and it's almost identical to, you know, Stephen Grant is Lamont Cranston, Ken Allard is the real Shadow, Mark Spector is the real Moon Knight. It just goes down the line like that. That it's pretty much the Shadow, you know. But
It is.
yeah, but as it changes and changes and changes, and now, you know, he's got this dissociative identity disorder, and
Mhm.
all of these aliases he was using are now personalities. It's like it's a very different character. So they have to come in and go, okay, the character now, how do we still pay homage to his, well, he was 75, so almost 50 years of comics? How do you pay homage to that and keep the heart of the character, but
Mhm.
also make it something that's streamlined enough that a new audience member is going to, you know, and I look at like the Stephen Grant in the comics is just Bruce Wayne, or like I said, Lamont Cranston. What we get here is a likable character with flaws that the audience will be able to identify with.
Oh, you can't help but love him and feel bad for him, and
Like
like a sad little puppy in the rain that you just want to take in and take care of.
everybody, just their heart broke for the guy when he sat at the restaurant going, "It's steak time. I'm
Hmm.
at the steak place." And it's 2 days later and his date's already done. And
His only friend is somebody that has no choice but to sit there. Like, does this guy is it his friend or not? Like, I feel sorrier and sorrier for him, for both of them, the
yeah,
longer this goes on. Like, oh,
and the messages he's leaving to his mom, but she never talks to him. So the odds are that it's just a phone line that he's
mhm.
talking to, that there's no person there. And the postcards he gets, they're from the gift shop he worked in.
See, I didn't see that, but
Yeah. There's a scene where they actually show the rack of postcards, as I think he's talking to the security guard, but in the foreground you see the rack, and then in the background you see him talk, and it's like, oh god, just so you can't help but feel for the guy
hmm
and sympathize with him, but you wouldn't do that to Mark Spector. If Mark Spector was the first character we got to see, why would you sympathize with a mercenary who's killed lots of people? You
hmm
know,
Yeah, that's a lot harder, and that's the brilliant move in it, because by showing us this version of this Steven first, you make us fall in love with him, you make us care about him and want him to be okay,
yeah.
and whatever else you throw at us now, we've got that emotional anchor point into this character, into this being, this aspect of this being, and that is beautiful. That's good writing. That's the kind of stuff that me and my son are tearing apart on the way home from the movie, or after a good show. It still amazes me that you can watch like a 22-minute show on TV and little Timmy comes into the hospital for a transplant and he dies because he doesn't get it or whatever. And you weep at the end of this when this character did not exist in your life 22 minutes ago. And they're like, he's never going to make it to Little League, and you're just weeping, and it amazes me the power that good writers have to just grab you by the heartstrings and twist and pull and lead you where they want you to go. Oh,
Some of the commercials get you that way too. Like the
right
old
then.
phone companies about calling your dad that you haven't seen in a while. They play like Don McLean over the back, and when you coming home, son, I don't know. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And that damn song, by the way, there are very few guys I know that don't cry at Cats in the Cradle.
Oh, oh yeah, it's on my songs list, and it tears me up every time it comes
Yep,
by. Yeah.
yep. Even the Ugly Kid Joe version of it.
Oh, absolutely,
It's like,
absolutely,
oh,
it's on there too. I've
yeah.
got both. I got a lot of Ugly Kid Joe on there though. I gotta admit.
Oh my god. I haven't thought about Ugly Kid Joe in forever.
I know.
Uh, so yeah, I think Steven is the changes they made to Steven very different from the comic, just like Mr.
Mhm.
Knight is different. But if you don't, if you can divorce yourself from the fact that it doesn't have, if you can accept that it doesn't have to be a copy, if you get the heart of the characters that you're getting, then that's what's important. And we're getting the heart of Moon Knight.
And to be clear, like that version of Moon Knight is very different than the earlier version and the version before that, and like the version that he started out as. Each one of these were reinterpretations by new teams, new writers, new creators, and we like what they've done to. And a lot of like that's part of why there's so many retcons. You get a whole lot of creatives in there adding stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work, and you got to take it back and fix it. But sometimes you get gold, and you get stuff that just makes these characters better and deeper and richer than they were before. And that's awesome. I don't think the multiple personalities aspect will probably ever be separated from Moon Knight again,
No.
because it has made him such a deeper, more interesting character.
Yeah.
And I love it, and I love what they're doing with it, and I'll probably like the next interpretation too. But this was a beautiful way to make him a character you can love first, and then throw everything else into it, because like a lot of the like Batmans aren't really lovable. Like you don't really like him. You're following it around because you kind of want to be him a little bit, and but like you're not following around because he's a good guy or you like him or he's friendly. Like I never wanted to be Christian Bale. That was
a lot of villains are more sympathetic.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah.
It's like the animated series where they did Mr. Freeze, the Heart of Glass.
Oh,
it's
heartbreaking.
Like, oh my God, yeah. By the way, Amy, thank you for the kind words. But yeah, I got to say that episode 2 surprised me, because I kind of thought what they were setting up is episode 1 was going to be Steven, and then
episode 2 was going to be Mark. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And the last thing I expected was the commune-style walk and talk that Aaron Sorkin would be proud of, as they're walking along and he's talking about, oh, we're growing this, and he's talking Mandarin. And by the way, from what I understand, his Mandarin is horrible.
Well, I mean, give the guy a break. I mean,
they're learning.
That's a tough language. That's a lot worse than an accent. That is a whole nother thing.
But Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi, came out and said that Arthur Harrow should fire his Mandarin coach. And people who speak Mandarin were like, we don't know what he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but again, also the fact they didn't translate it is because it's coming from Steven's point of view.
Mm-hmm. He does not know what they're saying.
Steven doesn't know Mandarin, so he wouldn't be able to translate that. He wouldn't know what they're saying. So, but I do like when the villain thinks he's the hero. To me, that's the best writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
he should. Why would you take such drastic means to get to your end if you don't believe that you're doing what's right? Like, you would have to. Like, there's not a whole lot of people that are just like, ha 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 ha, evil for the sake of evil. I'm going to watch the puppies burn. Like, that's just not real. Like, I mean, there's a handful.
Unless you're watching a DC show, and that's how they treat Lex Luthor most of the time, which is wrong. I did a whole video.
I don't like that. I like it was off that short series of Superman, All-Star Superman, I think, where they that Lex Luthor I love, because you really get to see why he's so angry at Superman, and and that finally made me get why he was who he was. And for me now, that's always going to be Lex Luthor's motivation. Not just greed, but trying to be the perfect man, and then all of a sudden this being comes along that's just superior in every possible way, and there's no way you can compete with that. And what are you now? And
narcissistic personality disorder. That's exactly Lex Luthor. That's what, like I said, I did in a 30-minute video going through the whole thing about it. But to me, Michael Rosenbaum's version on Smallville is probably the best live action interpretation.
Oh, I loved it because like you could see through all the whole thing, like you see how constantly being lied to and deceived and broken. And like he wants to be helpful in the beginning. Like, he wants to be better than he is, better than his family has been, and he's trying. And they just keep lying and hurting and breaking him until eventually he becomes that, all right, I'm gonna watch you burn then. Like you've hurt me long enough. I'm not letting anything hurt me again. And I, at his evilest, I had pity for him and, felt bad and remembered the fresh-faced Lex Luthor that he was in the beginning when he was trying to make sense of the handprints in his car.
And the genuine friendship they seem to have.
Absolutely.
And watch it fall apart and you hurt for
it. I mean, like, he would have done anything for Clark.
Yep.
But Clark just keeps lying to him over and over again. And he knows he's lying to him. Like, he's not good at it.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, absolutely. I love that version, too, because, like, you feel for him.
Yeah.
You see how he got to where he got, not just, ha, I'm evil because I'm bald and I'm angry about it. And
the worst thing is always everybody loves the Christopher Reeves movies. And it's like, yeah, but Lex Luthor is doing a real estate scam. And that's what he did in the Superman Returns, too. Why is he doing real estate scams?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, back to Moon Knight. I thought I really liked how Harrow was able to turn Khonshu into kind of a petulant child.
Oh, yes.
Scene.
That was juicy stuff right there. That was juicy. Yeah. And like everybody in the place is like, everything's getting knocked over and the storm's coming through and they're just like, yeah, this happens. It's Tuesday. He's pitching a fit. Like,
kill me, right?
That told us so much that, nobody there is afraid when all this scary stuff is happening because it's happened before. And we know he's not going to really do anything. He's just, as long as Mark's not there to be his actual hand on this plane, nothing's going to happen. And, that just made him impotent in that minute. Like, there's like not much he can do other than bluster and scream at Steven. And, that was beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, there was a few surprises for me in there. That was one of them. Him saying that he used to be the Fist of Khonshu. It's like, wait, what? And I know that was something retconned in later, that there have been Moon Knights through the years. And I really hate when they do that. But there's Moon Knights through the years. It just seems so tropey now that everybody does it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, I like a legacy character sometimes if it's done right. Like, I like the Phantom being a legacy character that gets handed down. I think that's really neat. But he was also probably the first one to do it. Yeah. And so it's a good idea for him. I liked it. Took me a while to get used to Batman Beyond, but I ended up loving it, as the idea of Bruce just can't let go and can't accept that there could ever be a world without Batman. So let's, pick another Batman. Okay. I finally got on board and fell in love with it. But yeah, I mean, like, once Spawn does it, now it's like everybody has to do it. So yeah, it's Spawn, a little overused.
Shadowhawk, everybody started doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Shadowhawk. I've enjoyed writing it the chance I got. So I don't want to diss Jim, but I think he was doing it way before a lot of other people. So.
Yeah, I've got one legacy villain in my world that I'm planning to use that actually comes from a public domain villain that, like, some of my friends are really into the public domain heroes and villains and stuff, and some of them get very ridiculous. And like this Human Fly, which way predates Marvel's licensed Human Fly from the Daredevil dude.
The stuff.
Yeah, and I loved that series. But this Human Fly is absolutely ridiculous. It is a criminal wearing this big giant fly on his back suit, and he's climbing the building like a human fly, as a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
But the whole gimmick is this giant fly suit that he's wearing can climb the building on its own, and he goes in a window and kills somebody, and then goes up the stairs and gets back in the get up and finishes at the top of the building and has an excuse the whole time. It was so ridiculously overplanned and stupid just to kill somebody. But I love the idea of like this loser bad guy villain, using this gimmick, and then everybody in the family after that trying to redeem this and make it a value. Like, I'm a real supervillain as they go on, and they get sillier and goofier and cooler and scarier as they go. And they just trying to live down this shame of great grandpa's ridiculous caper. And no matter how hard they try and make it in the world of villainy, everybody's like, hey, get that fly nonsense out of here, But, there's going to be some cool stuff come. But I love that idea. I love trying to live it down as opposed to having to live up to it, like the next Superman has to or whatever.
Yeah. All right, so we talked about Mr. Knight. We talked about Harrow and him basically castrating Khonshu. The introduction of the wife I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she's kind of replacing Marlene, who's always been the girlfriend in the comics. Mm-hmm. If they're just doing a swap, basically they're like, well, let's do more of an ethnic background, make her more Egyptian and that, or because instead of a French woman, it's a Egyptian, or if they are going a different direction. We do get the nod to Frenchie with the Ducamp thing on the phone, and we get Crawley, the gold painted guy. So most of the comic characters are there. But the whole them being married, I thought was rather interesting. And I'm kind of curious, and this is one of my theories, is that if you look at the two actors, Oscar Isaac is 43, May Calloway is 35. So there's 8 years difference between the two. Now, when you're watching the show, we see Mark's passport. You can see the issue date on it. It's issued after the snap, which means he didn't get dusted. So I'm wondering if maybe they used to be closer in age. He got snapped, she didn't. So he spent 5 years continuing the searching for the thing, coming across, ended up finding the thing, getting hooked up with Khonshu and all that while she was gone. And now that she's back, that's why he's keeping his distance, because to him, he's already mourned her. And now he just knows his life is too dangerous. Where she's coming back, she's only been back a couple months. She's been calling and calling, trying to get a hold of him. And that's why she doesn't know.
Which would also explain why he's got such an old style phone too. Yeah. Like that's the one that would, and see, you've got to consider all this stuff now in this world because like half the people disappeared. And if you don't address that in everything from this point on, then you're not doing the world justice because like that's a major event. That's not like, a town got taken over by witches. Like this is a major world changing event. So it has to apply to everything. Yeah. And that would be a really good reason for the old, besides just being a burner phone, like to be such an old style phone with those numbers and stuff, that would explain the age. That's juicy. That's probably more thought through than they did on it. I'd be willing to bet. But
it popped in my head because Lisa was watching and she said that she thought that Layla was too young to play Mark's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that, and then I saw the thing about when his passport was issued, and I thought, okay, he didn't get snapped. But you look at like Black Widow, the age difference between Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh is much closer when they're kids, but now further apart because one got snapped and one didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a bigger age gap. And I thought, well, that could have happened here too, and that would make a lot of sense.
I didn't even think about the age difference aspect of the snap. Like, I think about the snap a lot. Like, I think about everybody that was in an airplane and stuff like that, you know, and everybody that was in a relationship or standing in a building that's no longer there, or, you know, crossing the street or whatever, sitting in your living room and now your living room's a highway. Like, there's a lot of things that have changed over that time. But and I've thought about the, like, you know, your wife has mourned you and moved on and gotten remarried, and then here you show up walking out of the bathroom again, not realizing anything happened.
Yep.
And, you know, life is turned upside down. I did not think about the age difference, though. Like, I mean, for a lot of people, that's not going to make that big of a deal. But, like, if you were a young married couple in your early 20s, let's say, and now, like, you're 30 and she's 25, like, that's a bigger difference there than it is, you know, if you're 45 and 50. Like, I mean, it's a bigger difference at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, wow, that's wild.
And if there's already a couple years difference between you in the first place, then it becomes even bigger. And I mean, they did address some of that stuff in like Spider-Man: Far From Home. The kid that didn't get snapped was now the same age as Peter when he was a little kid. Now, you know, he's all good looking and older. And Aunt May talked about how she popped back up in the apartment, and there was another couple living there, and the wife accused the husband of that this was his girlfriend and was having an affair. So they have talked a little bit, but they haven't really done a lot with the snap. And I think they were getting little hints of it here and there, but I think something like that could make a lot of
the stuff they did in Winter Soldier, you know, Falcon Winter Soldier, surprised me because I hadn't thought about the struggle that would put on the world. Yeah. And, you know, and it honestly would. Like, I mean, like, it's hard enough to keep up with our population now. If it just suddenly doubled, you know, for better or worse, whatever, like, that would be a huge strain. Like, I mean, like, we saw what happened with toilet paper and stuff, you know, like the shelves being empty of food. Like, it doesn't take much to throw our stuff out of balance. And
it's not like they were coming back to the exact same number of people that we had, because in that 5 years, people still continue to have kids.
Oh, yeah.
Or were born and died. I mean, the numbers kept going up. So yeah, that's my theory on the relationship there.
Interesting.
Have another theory. We have noticed a lot of stuff happening in Steven's life that Steven's not doing. Asking the girl Dylan out, sending the postcards from Mother, setting up the answer machine to be his mother, paying for the flat because he said it's his mother's flat. So somebody's paying for that too. After the cupcake truck, somebody took him home, put him in bed, did the shackle, did the sand. Well, that happened again after the jackal attack. And by then, Mark knows that Steven knows about
He's
Mark.
onto it. Yeah.
Right. So why would he put him back in the shackle and clean the sand or smooth the sand? So there's so many things that are happening, and there's things that seem to try, like replacing the goldfish that died. Do you think Mark Spector would do that?
Well, but the thing is, like, she said it was him, though. So is it
But what if it's a third personality? What if there's already a third personality? We've seen the
results of.
Yeah. we've seen his actions, but we haven't seen him. He's the one, because Mark, especially if he's still in love with Layla, but is trying to get away from her because it's too dangerous, is not going to start another relationship and ask a girl out for Steven. So those are the things that make me go, there's probably another personality at play here.
There could be. I mean, there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me right now. But that just makes me curious to find out, how do they make them make sense? Like Mark being married in the first place doesn't make sense to me, but I'm curious to see how they're going to explain it and, make it make as much sense as everything else has been making as it shows up. So like now, like the Mr. Knight persona makes absolutely perfect sense to me now. Like it being completely different, but using the same suit to create this thing.
Yeah.
And like, that's brilliant. So I have no doubt that they're going to pay it off, and they're going to pay it off well. I'm just really curious to see how they're going to do it,
Yeah.
And
they're both tapping into Khonshu's power, but doing it in a different way.
And the whole, do you really think this is your body question makes me wonder, is this going to be Mark was somebody else that died doing his work and got stuck in here with Steven? Or, is this body created by Khonshu and these are just splits coming off of it? Or, is Steven the original person or not? Is he a split personality to give them peace and, to be able to do something else other than struggle and die all the time? Like,
my original thought was that Mark is the original body and he was creating Steven to hide out in. To get away from everything, to get away from all that he's done, the dangers, the people looking for him, by, turning into this mild-mannered guy and cutting off the rest of his life. That was my original thought. Now I'm not as sure, but I think that's still a possibility. So,
yeah, it's almost like, I almost feel like Steven is like his Mark's Bruce Banner, sort of, like he transforms from this, scary, deadly mercenary down to this calm, mild-mannered guy. And, maybe it's Frenchie that's running around keeping like the bills paid and sending postcards and stuff. And, running around for him, keeping everything moving and keeping Bruce Banner satiated, as long as he can be, so the Hulk can hide. And,
hell, it could be Crawley.
Could be.
Or he puts on the gold paint. He, runs around, pays the bills, sends some postcards.
Him and Mark could have long conversations when Steven's not around, and be like, all right, look, he's gonna come out and say a whole bunch of crazy crap. Just be still. Don't pay any attention.
Here's the money.
Just be still.
And you got to wonder, like, how he became friends with Crawley. How did he decide, I'm going to go? Because you get the feeling like he hasn't been Steven that long. And then Layla talks about how she's been trying to reach him for months. So again, that's why I think she was snapped and has only been back for months. But because if not, she'd been trying to what happened a few months ago that caused this change, and why wasn't she there when he found the Scarab? The Scarab is my third theory. I think the Scarab is messing with the abilities to wall off the personalities. I think Mark got a hold of the Scarab in that little Vienna town or whatever that town is. And when things got, when he was out of the immediate danger and things calmed down just for a second, because of the Scarab, Steven came through, surprisingly. And it continued.
Like, it's what's thinned the walls between them that's letting them transfer. So suddenly, when he wasn't supposed to be there, he pops up, which would make sense because they've been having a lot more trouble since that point. And like Steven's trying to hand it over, but Mark's yanking it out of his hands and stuff.
Was that Khonshu doing it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But the moment gets taken out of his hands, Steven leaves, Mark is back, kicks everybody's ass, takes it back, Steven returns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anytime the danger's ramped up, Mark pops back. But then when the danger subsides even a little bit, like in the cupcake truck,
Mm-hmm.
when there's a pause, Steven comes back to the front. I think it's the Scarab. I think the Scarab, once he put the Scarab in the locker, that problem stopped.
Yeah, I mean that would make a lot of sense. I mean, I didn't think about the connection between the two, but I mean, yeah, that is exactly when the problems start. I mean, you've already got hints that there have been problems, like talking about the date and stuff. Like there, like it's not like it just happened,
Right.
but now all of a sudden it's all the time, back and forth. Like not just I must be sleepwalking because I wake up in different places. You know, just assuming he was mindlessly doing it. You know, now it's intentional, asking out girls and
Yeah.
getting in giant fights and driving cupcake trucks backwards down mountain roads.
To Wham.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best use of a song in a long time. Just so relevant for the episode. Just such a nice upbeat song for a dangerous trip down a hill. And,
absolutely.
Yep. And everybody who's ever seen Final Destination knew exactly what was going to happen with those damn trees. That was obvious. Those are coming back, I'm telling you. See?
I've really enjoyed this so much. I mean, like Disney's been killing it. I got to give it to them. You know, like I've got some issues with them milking the cow until it's long over and dead and still milking it, but they're putting out good stuff. You know, like I've absolutely love The Mandalorian. I love the Book of Boba Fett, and I love the stuff in the Book of Boba Fett that a lot of people didn't like because it showed more aspects of the world of Star Wars and the universe, and that it's not just monks with laser swords, fighting, that there are people just doing business, and there's people going to work, and there's people that pimp their rides, and all the stuff that we have. There's crooked politicians, and everything that we deal with here, and I love that.
I like the Book of Boba Fett. My only two complaints were that there's no way in hell the mod kids' bikes would look that good on Tatooine with constant sand. They may have done them that way, but they would look like crap about 3 days later. And my other problem is that you basically had a show called Book of Boba Fett, and 2 of the 6 episodes didn't have Boba Fett. If they would have said the battle for Tatooine, I don't think anybody would complain. But you call it Book of Boba Fett, the Throne of Jabba. You could have named it a lot of things, but when you call it the Book of Boba Fett, you kind of expect the Book of Boba Fett to be in most of the episodes. He was completely out of one. He didn't even speak in the other and showed up for like 3 seconds.
Now, on the paint jobs, I wonder, like, this is clearly a world that has force fields and things like that. I wonder if they can't generate a small force field around the surface to protect your paint. Because if we had that technology, the car guys would start working on that to protect, their fancy gold flake paint jobs and stuff.
If they could do that, don't you think we would have seen it somewhere? Just about every ship other than the Naboo starfighters look like crap.
True, but we're also talking something like the size of a Vespa scooter as opposed to the size of an ocean liner. So, like, I mean, just covering that much area would be far more expensive than, say, covering something this size. True. And, like, guys with lowriders will spend absolutely ridiculous amounts of money to make their car do all kinds of crazy stuff that, like, the military would never spend money on to put on their stuff because it's just not worth the investment for what you're going to get out of it. They could buy a whole nother starship and a whole nother crew after that one gets blasted out of the air rather than putting shielding on it.
But did the Book of Boba Fett need an A-Team style van conversion as they rebuilt an old spaceship that had, again, Boba Fett's not even in that episode. And we find out that Amy Sedaris' character sleeps with Jawas, which is disturbing that they're furry under the suits. And then she starts hitting on the guy with the tail, the headpiece. And I'm thinking, why doesn't she just hook up with Black Chrysanthemum? If she likes furry, you got a Wookiee. But
I mean, I think Wookiee's a bigger commitment. I think than a Jawa. I think you have to I think she could probably handle herself against a Jawa better and handle the breakup better than breaking up with a Wookiee.
They are known for ripping arms off.
Yeah, I don't yeah. I'm not going to try that either. But,
or the scene where everything is set up that he's going to have to take on the twin Hutts, and then they just show up and go, "Our bad. We're so sorry. We're going to leave. Here's a Rancor to say thank you. You get Danny Trejo with it. Sorry about that. Oh, I've got your Wookiee. Keep him. It's fine." And leave. And he turns to the Wookiee and goes, "You're out of here." And the Wookiee just jogs off into the desert. So, yeah, I guess I did have some issues.
Yeah, I mean, them coming in and then just turning around and leaving. I mean, I get that it shows because the Hutts are a pretty intimidating force, and if something's willing to make them turn around and leave, that's supposed to show us that this is a much bigger threat that we're dealing with. If it's big enough to make them leave territory and profit. So, okay. But it also kind of makes it feel like, why did they bother if they're just going to turn around and leave again? But maybe they didn't know. And it gives us a chance to introduce the Rancor, which I think is just pure ridiculous fan service. And it doesn't make sense, even if the thing's bonded with him, that it's trained well enough to handle him riding it and go into battle 2 days later.
Yeah, the 2 or 3 days that he's had it.
Yeah. My new puppy may love me, but that doesn't mean that, he's going to sick on my command. And he has not been trained to do any of this. He's still piddling on a pad. He's not going to do this. But
all right. And that's got to be where we cut it off. We've reached the end of the show. Tell folks again where they can find your Kickstarter.
GoMrFish.com. Just like the old card game Go Fish, except it's Mr. Fish. GoMrFish.com. It'll take you to Green Zone, Life in the Blocks. We're creeping up on the $3,000 mark. We're just almost to 75%. Give us a back. You can get a chance to be in the book. How awesome is that? So
we're sorry that Paul didn't make it to the show. It'll be 2 weeks in a row. We'll find out what he thinks of Moon Knight and of John Malkovich as Poirot next week, hopefully. Until then, Fish, thank you for coming in.
Absolutely, man.
And we will see you all next week. Have a great week. Enjoy. Take care, everybody.